shout outs to Commissioner Dorner, to Commissioner Washington. Now, Vice Chair Bailey, that's close enough. Close enough. That's a teal, I guess. Okay, there we go. Okay. So good morning, everyone. The Prince George's County Planning Board is now in session. I'm pleased to be here with everyone. I wanted to tell you that happy St. Patrick's Day for starters. And we do have some administrative items today, and we have closed session. So I will do my announcements afterwards. So today is March 17th, obviously St. Patrick's Day, our 83rd virtual meeting. So with that, I'm going to first ask for a motion to, to approve the draft minutes of the March 10th meeting of the Planning Board.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Washington, seconded by Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington?
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Dorner?
Vote aye.
Okay, the ayes have it 4-0. And then we have a closed session. And I do want to announce that we do have 4 members present with us today. We have Madam Vice Chair Bailey, Commissioner Washington, and Commissioner Dorner. Commissioner Giraldo is unable to be here at this moment. So with that, we need a motion to go into closed session for purposes of closed session pursuant to section 3-305B3 of the General Provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland to discuss and have a briefing on the status and updates for land acquisition within the Department of Parks and Recreation for the purpose of conserving scarce public resources by maintaining the confidentiality of the Commission's negotiating positions and strategies with regard to the acquisition of this property, this real property. So with that, is there a motion?
Move approval for closed session as indicated by Madam Chair.
I second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Bailey, seconded by Commissioner Washington. Madam Vice Chair.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
The ayes have it 4-0. We will resume with our development review items at 10:30. They are scheduled for 10:30. We will be there as soon as practicable after our closed session. Thank you. Okay. We need a motion to come out of closed session, please.
Move, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Commissioner Giraldo. He's on it today. Seconded by Commissioner Washington. Madam Vice Chair?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner?
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo?
Vote aye, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. We need a motion to ratify the action taken in closed session.
So move, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Madam Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Giraldo. Madam Vice Chair?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner?
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo. Can you make it bigger? Okay.
Vote aye.
Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Flanagan. Okay, so the Prince George's County Planning Board is back in open session right now, and we have some announcements. We have a short agenda today. So I am Elizabeth Hewlett. I'm chair of the Prince George's County Planning Board. The Planning Board is in session for our Thursday, March 17th, 2022 Planning Board hearing meeting, and it is our 83rd virtual meeting since the onset of the pandemic. Before I proceed with my announcements, I want to acknowledge everyone who is present. We have the full complement of our Planning Board. We have Madam Vice Chair Bailey and Commissioners Washington, Dorner, and Giraldo. We have with us our Planning Director, Checkley, and our Acting Deputy Planning Director, Derek Berlage, as well. I think we have Deputy Planning Director Suzanne King as well. We have present with us our principal legal counsel, David Warner, and we have our senior counsel, who is our counsel for today. And he is our lead counsel for today. That is Peter Goldsmith. We have with us James Hunt, our Chief of Development Review. We have our technical hearing writer, Marie Proctor. We have with us that wizard, that man who makes this visual stuff happen here, and that is Ryan Cron. And we have our senior planning technician over here, Kenny Flanagan, who is working the PowerPoint. If you need him to move something along, ask for Mr. Flanagan. Now, did I miss? I don't know if I missed anybody. I don't think so. So with that, we are prepared to go forward. I just want to take a moment to remind everybody of the participation guidelines. All participants in today's hearings, and any hearing, must pre-register, and all materials or exhibits, if any, must be submitted by the 12 noon on the Tuesday before the planning board meeting, as shown on the screen, as announced in every weekly meeting, as posted on our website, and clearly stated in bold red on our published weekly planning board agenda. Registered speakers and presenters may join the meeting with the link provided via the email from the planning board office, or may listen or participate by phone utilizing the call-in number. And of course, the public may continue to watch planning board meetings streamed live. I do want to acknowledge that, that we have folks have returned to work, and I'm going to give a shout out to our planning department. And of course, the chairman's office has been here every step of the way, so they get their own shout out. But the planning department has returned, and we're really glad to see people in person. So that's just a wonderful thing, and kudos. But we've kept everything going throughout the pandemic, and so everyone deserves a huge shout out for that. And our IT folks, our legal department, our planning department, our chairman's office, everyone here has done a great job with that, and also the private sector for being able to participate and for your flexibility. So as always, we commence our meetings with a moment of silence. Within our region, we want to remember Tracy Braxton, who was the singer, actress, media personality, star of the TV show The Braxton Family Values, along with her 4 sisters and mom and family. Of course, she was the singer of iconic Toni Braxton, all of whom were reared in Prince George's County. So we want to remember Tracy Braxton. We also want to remember the victims of the coronavirus. More than 81.2 million cases in the United States alone, and over 994 deaths in the United States alone. That's over 6 million deaths worldwide. 6 million worldwide. These are human beings. They're not just statistics. So pretty much everyone you know has been touched by this in some way. If they were fortunate enough to survive, thank goodness. But many of us lost loved ones. We also want to remember the ever-growing number of victims of the continued Russian attacks on the Ukraine. Even yesterday, there were bombings of the theater where people were holed up just for safety. Apparently, there were deaths, but not as many as they would have thought, because some were spared in the basement. But I want to tell you, as of yesterday, it may be more today, but as of yesterday, 103 deaths have been children. That we know of. That's horrendous. So we want to continue to send our prayers. We want to remember Emilio Delgado, age 81, best known for his role as Luis, the Fix-It shop owner in the children's series Sesame Street, for over 40 years. Bobby Nelson, age 91, the pianist who played with her younger brother, singer Willie Nelson. William Hurt, age 71, Oscar-winning actor who starred in Kiss of the Spider Women, The Big Chill, Children of the Lesser Guard, and also he was part of the Avengers series. Johnny Greer, first Black referee in the NFL. Timmy Thomas, R&B singer, songwriter, and keyboardist known for his 1972 hit, Why Can't We Live Together. Scott Hall, age 63, WWE Hall of Fame wrestler known as Razor Raymond. And of course, there may be others, so we extend our deepest sympathy to any of you who may have suffered the loss of a loved one, and we extend and open our hearts to each of you. If we may have that moment of silence now. Thank you. Okay, so it is the month of March. We continue to celebrate Women's History Month. Women are doing it. Honor the women in your lives, wherever they are, in your workplace, in your home, in your spouse, wherever they are. We honor all of you women who are the quintessential multitaskers, the persons who know how to take care of business, who are consummate leaders, whether they're in leadership positions or not. You lead because you have figured out how to do so much. And we really honor the women, and we celebrate the men who have sense enough to honor the women in their lives. It is American Red Cross Month. It is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, which is cancer of the colon. And that is one of the most treatable cancers if you catch it in time. So I am telling you, get your colonoscopy. You know, people think, oh, that's a horrible thing. First of all, you don't even know about it. You know, they put you under, it's no big deal, but it can save your life or save lives. It is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And this week, it is on March 21st. It is, I think it's, is it autism? Down Syndrome Awareness Month. That's what a day. And I think that's what it is on March 21st. And we want to remember those who with developmental disabilities and Down syndrome, and celebrate people of all ability levels, and make sure because they are vibrant people and vibrant and necessary in our communities, and we want to celebrate and embrace everybody. That is what we're all about, embracing people of all religions, all ages, all backgrounds, all ability levels, all orientations, all sexual orientation. That is who we are in America, and that is what we have to live up to. It is also National Nutrition Month, and World Autism Day. So it is March 17th. And on March 17th, in 180, Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius died. 1756 was St. Patrick's Day. 1756 was the first time St. Patrick's Day was celebrated in New York City. 1905, Albert Einstein finished his scientific paper on the quantum theory of light, which was a key foundation of modern physics. 1919, smooth as silk crooner, Nat King Cole was born in Montgomery, Alabama. 1944, Italy's Mount Vesuvius erupted, destroying several towns and countless lives. 1961, Jimi Hendrix released Purple Haze in the United Kingdom. In 1968, the Bee Gees made their U.S. television debut on the Ed Sullivan Show, for those of you who remember A Really Big Shoe. And in 1969, Golda Meir became Israel's first and only woman prime minister. And of course, March 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and I wish a happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone watching. Please enjoy your day. If we can go to the first slide, please. First, I want to do a huge congratulations to the Planning Department, who received approval from the District Council on the Bowie, Mitchellville, and Vicinity Master Plan last week. It was a multi-year effort coordinating with community stakeholders, elected officials, and at multiple levels of the planning board. Public engagement kicked off during the early phases of the pandemic and led the department's robust efforts in virtual community meetings and presentations. So again, congratulations to the department, to the Community Planning Division, to the project team led by Thomas Lester, Andrew McCrae, Scott Rowe, and Kirk Reynolds. So can we give a shout out to them as well? And finally, and we're on the right slide now. Okay, how do you get around in New Carrollton? The Planning Department is working on the New Carrollton downtown access and connectivity strategy to strengthen multimodal connections between transit options, employment areas, residential neighborhoods, and natural areas. To drop your pin on the interactive map and share your thoughts, visit the URL listed on the screen. See that? Okay, so you can drop your pin there. Next slide, please. Everyone be on the lookout. Those signs that we've had in place for a long, long time are going out the window. Effective April 1st, the planning department will be implementing new sign templates for on-site postings of development activities for the new zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. Please see the sign. That's what it will look like. And the number is in great, big, bold print. And so please visit the web address listed on the screen. Finally, speaking of age-friendly, the Department of Parks and Recreation will host its annual centenarian celebration in person this year, Friday, May 13th. Do you know Prince Georgians who are 100 years or older? If so, the department would like to invite them to a special celebration luncheon, and each centenarian may bring up to 5 guests. Now, we also open it to 90 and above, but I'm going to tell you, we have a lot in Prince George's County. So it's just wonderful to see these, the 90-year and above and the centenarians attend these events, and they are fabulous. They are sage. They have a tremendous wisdom to impart. And I try to hang on to every word that they said, so maybe one day I can become one of them. So please visit pgparks.com for more information to complete the form. And finally, today is the start of what? March Madness. So it's on. I think there's right about 12 noonish. So these continue to be tough times as we still grapple with anxiety, stress, fear, loss of friends and loved ones. And we've just been plain tired of the disruption to our lives. But I am so proud that we have struggled. We continue to show up, stand up, push forward because we are resilient and we do take care of business. We consult with the Prince George's County Department of Health on a near daily basis. And guess what? This news is even better than last week's news. Thankfully, the percent of positive test results, the infection rate, and the average daily case rate are all improving. Listen up. According to the CDC metrics dated yesterday, March 16, 2021, we are now at the not high, not critical, not high, not medium, but low risk level for the average daily positive test rate, daily case rate, and hospital capacity. That is the first time that we've been low in all 3 of those categories. So make no mistake, the COVID is here and may be here to stay, but we are protected if vaccinated, and the vaccination rate has grown tremendously as well. So it has helped tremendously. So if you're vaccinated, particularly if you are boosted, you are far less likely to die, to require a ventilator, to be placed in ICU, or to be hospitalized. And that's the additional good news. A shout out to our commission employees who are over now 98% vaccinated. I'm so pleased about this. We are all in this together. It is not about you. It's about all of us. So if you haven't done so yet, please be vaccinated and please be boosted for yourselves, for the safety of your friends, colleagues, and loved ones. Think Nike and just do it. We thank you and appreciate your flexibility, cooperation, and support as we continue our planning functions in a safe fashion. Let's step up our game and increase our efforts to be kind, to stay safe, to look out for one another, to stay strong and resilient, and remain ever hopeful as we continue our journey to a better place together. Thank you. So, and last week we talked about, people said goodbye to me because we thought that was my last week, and here I am today. But it will wrap up. It's either this week, it's probably next week. So we'll see what happens here. So with that, I'm going to turn to my agenda. And the first item on our agenda is the minutes of the, is there anyone here to oppose the staff's recommendations on items 4B or 4C, or any board member who wishes to discuss these items?
Madam Chair, after consideration of the records for items 4B and 4C, I move adoption of the staff findings and approval of these items on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a motion. Is there a second? And you have a second. Motion by Madam Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Washington. Madam Vice Chair,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
Vote aye.
and Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye, Madam Chair. Thank you. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you're here.
Thank you so much. If we could take a moment, we're going to take just a 2-minute break for 1 second. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Complement of our board. Okay, well, let me go ahead with item 6. Item 6 is detailed site plan 20050 Stevens Crossings at Brandywine. Ms. Gwynn, did I just see you? Yes, there you are. Okay, and Mr. Gibbs.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. I'm here, Edward Gibbs.
Good morning, Mr. Gibbs. And I understand we have a request for a continuance. So, Ms. Gwynn?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I'm Rachel Gwynn with the Urban Design Section. The item before you is item 6, detailed site plan DSP-20050 for Stevens Crossing at Brandywine. In a letter dated February 17, 2022, the applicant's representative, Edward Gibbs, granted a waiver of the 70-day review period and requested a continuance to the Planning Board hearing date of March 31, 2022, in order to address environmental and transportation-related issues. Staff recommends approval of the continuance as the necessary information has been received, and the staff report is ready for publishing today as required for the March 31st hearing date. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gwynn. I think we're going to go straight to Mr. Gibbs.
Yes, good morning, Chair Hewlett, members of the board, Edward Gibbs, an attorney with offices in Largo, representing the applicant and owner of the Stevens Crossing project. And we did file that continuance request. We appreciate the staff's bringing to our attention some additional material that they needed. And so we would request your favorable consideration of the deferral until March 31st. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. And you got some light back there in your office. Okay. So with that, is there a motion to continue until March 31st?
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Washington and seconded by Commissioner Giraldo. Madam Vice Chair. She's
You're
muted.
muted.
Vote
Okay.
aye.
Commissioner Washington,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
Vote aye.
and Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye, Madam Chair. I love your hat, by the way.
Thank you. The ayes have it 5-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too. So the next item on our agenda is item 7, which is the Town of Riverdale Park Mixed Use Town Center Local Design Review Committee membership. I think we have to fill one vacancy. Mr. Sams? Mr. Sams, are you on? We see you. Okay, guess what? We can't hear you yet, but guess what? We already have this information. So let me go there. Let me go straight to it. We have a letter, not a letter, but we have the information that we need. There's we're trying to fill one vacancy in this for the Town of Riverdale Park Mixed Use Town Center Local Design Review Committee. We have everything in our backup here today. I don't know if there's any questions or here it is. Do we have any questions? Is there a motion?
Approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner, from Madam Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Washington. Mr. Sams, I'm going to do one more check to see if your mic is working. It is not working, it seems. And we have unmuted you here, and it says, maybe because you have headphones on, right? if you take that off, maybe. Okay. Okay, so anyway, and the person, I just want to say the person's name is Richard Smith. And he will be the government representative. So we have a motion and a second to add Richard Smith to the, so as the government representative. We have a motion and a second. Madam Vice Chair,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
But he's a neighbor of mine, so glad to see that he's going to be serving.
wonderful, and Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye. Yes, thank you for serving.
Okay, so the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on our agenda is, these are amendments to the, requested amendments to the 2018 Water and Sewer Plan. This is, there's a number of people signed on, so let me make sure we have everyone. I thought I saw Ivy Thompson. Is she on? Oh, there she, okay, I just can't see her face. Tracy Scudder,
I am present, Madam Chair.
okay, wonderful. Tom Matea,
Hello, yes, I'm here.
okay, wonderful. Torben Aitson,
Yes, Madam Chair, I am here.
did I pronounce it correctly? Sometimes I mess that up.
Yes, Torben Agason, that was very good.
Agason, thank you, I knew that. Agason, okay. Mr. Arthur Horn, we see you. Tom, good morning. Thomas Haller, we see you.
Good morning.
Bill Tucker. We see you on the list here, but I don't hear anything.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm here.
Okay. Wonderful. Ken Dunn,
Morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm here.
wonderful. Rachel Leitzinger.
Good morning, I am here.
That concludes the sign-up list. We do have letters. We have an exhibit number 1, which is the request for waiver and statement of justification submitted by Tom Haller representing Phil and Rolanda Tucker. We have exhibit number 2, a letter of inconsistency submitted by Arthur Horn representing National View. And then we have a letter of inconsistency also from Arthur Horn, that's exhibit number 3, representing the Troutman Farm. With that, I'm going to turn to Ivy Thompson.
Hi, Madam Chair, this is James Hunter. We may have some technical issues going on with Ivy right now. And we're going to check in with her real quick.
Okay, so let me put me back on. Do you need 5 minutes or how, want to
Yes,
give her 5 minutes? And then if not, are you prepared to go forward?
Yes, Madam Chair, we'll get that together in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Five minutes are up. We're good to go. Let's get started.
Alrighty.
We all have our backup.
Oh, okay, so then I'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I'm Ivy Thompson with the Countywide Planning Division. This is a review of the requested amendments to the 2018 Water and Sewer Plan for December 2021. The 2018 Water and Sewer Plan was adopted by Council Resolution CR 64/2019 and amended by Council Resolution CR 75/2019 and CR 11/2020, which provides 4 annual cycles of category change amendments to the plan. The December cycle is the last of the 4 cycles for 2021. Staff is seeking permission to transmit comments to the Prince George's County Council.
You're muted again, Ms. Thompson.
Per the Environment article of the Annotated Code of Maryland and the adopted 2018 Water and Sewer Plan, the Planning Board reviews the plan and, next slide, please. The planning board reviews the plan and amendments for consistency with the general plan to provide comments to the general counsel for CR 17/2022. The planning board is required to provide comments to the county council on CR 17/2022 per the environment article of the annotated code of Maryland and the adopted 2018 water and sewer plan. The public hearing for the December 2021 cycle of amendments will be held in April. The Prince George's County Planning Council Committee of the Whole will discuss the county executive recommendations. Next slide, please. The planning department staff reviewed 5 category changes requests. The 5 projects are in the Western, Piscataway, Broad Creek, Oxen Run, Blue Plains, and Mattawoman sewer basins. Next slide, please. The first project is the Stewart project. It's located at 8215 Springfield Road on the east side of Springfield Road, approximately 1,000 feet south of Duckettstown Road in Glendale. The proposal is for the development of 20 single-family detached units with a minimum 2,000 square feet of livable space and a minimum sales price of $450,000. The applicant requested a category change from water and sewer category 5 to 4, and the county executive recommends advancing to water and sewer category 4. Next slide, please. The Troutman property is located on the north and south sides of Farm Road in Upper Marlboro. It is for the development of 100 single-family detached units with a minimum 2,000 square feet of livable space and a minimum sales price of $400,000. The county executive recommends this project retain water and sewer category 5 and category 6. The applicant requested an advancement to category 4. Next slide, please. The next property is the Tucker property, and it's located at 12500 Wallace Lane in Upper Marlboro. It is for the development of 1 single-family detached unit consisting of 3,105 square feet of livable space and an estimated cost of $615,000. The county executive recommends this project retain water and sewer category 5 and deny the requested waiver. The applicant requested a waiver to the 2018 water and sewer plan to allow interim systems usage in the category designated future public water and sewer service. Next slide, please. The National View project is located west of Maryland 210 at Indian Head Highway and south of Creve Drive in Oxon Hill. It is for the development of an 800-unit multifamily building consisting of a minimum 800 square feet of livable space and a minimum monthly rental of $2,000 per unit. It also includes retail space with combined floor area of 60,000 square feet and an office building with combined floor area of 225 square feet. The applicant requests advancement from category 6, individual assistance, to category 4. The county executive recommends this project advancing to water and sewer category 5 in compliance with the designation of the property within the growth boundary in Plan 2035. Next slide, please. The Manning Road East Parcel 24 is located on Manning Road, approximately 600 feet southwest of Maryland 210 Indian Head Highway in Accokeek. It is for the development of 1 single-family detached home with a minimum 2,200 square feet of floor space and undetermined cost. The applicant's request is for water and sewer category 3 from 5 to 3, and the county executive has recommended this project advancing to water and sewer category 3. Next slide, please. Staff is requesting planning board approve to transmit the December 2021 cycle of amendment comments to the Prince George's County Council, and that completes staff presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. I'm going to hold off for questions for just a moment. I'm going to turn to Mr. Horn. I'm going to turn to attorneys first because I know you have people to support you, but I'm going to turn to Mr. Horn. I know you have a deadline.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. But for the record, Arthur Horn, with the law office of Shipping Horn and Largo.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Ms. Thompson, we're going to mute you. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Horn.
Thank you. As mentioned previously, there are two matters on the list that I wanted to address the planning board with this morning. I want to start with the Troutman property. I guess it's in the list first, and it is it's perfect. And I have with us today Mr. Ken Dunn, who is the civil engineer from Dewberry. I'm sorry, civil engineer for SOTES. And Mr. Dunn will speak to it for a second, but I do want to say that Mr. Dunn has a court case where he's an expert witness in a half an hour, and he is representing the side opposite of Shipley Horn. So we wanted to say how great of a person he is, because he's our expert witness here, and in 30 minutes, he'll be an expert witness for the other side in the court. So Mr. Dunn, I'm glad to have Mr. Dunn here. So I think we might hold him up a little bit, Madam Chairman, so he can't get over to that hearing, and we'll be okay. But anyway, with reference to
shenanigans on St. Patrick's Day, shenanigans. Okay.
Yeah. So we just briefly, I stand by the letter that was put in on behalf of the property owners. Number one, to have this property moved into Category 3. I do want to correct one statement that I had in that letter indicating that the property was surrounded by Category 3 properties, but it's actually only property to the east and the south that's Category 3. But the property is in the water and sewer envelope. It is in the developed tier. It's in Tier 2, the development area. Current master plan calls for a comprehensive design zone for the site. The council, the district council itself, enacted CB 81 in 2021. That's just this past October, to develop this site as an equestrian development with single-family detached homes. And Madam Chair, you were mentioning the centennials.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there.
Absolutely.
I knew you were going to go there.
Because she will be there. Dorothy Troutman, the owner of this property, is 100 years old. And
not until May. Not until May.
And she will be there. And, as this board knows, she's been a very active person in Prince George's County for probably 70 of those years. And again, the statement from the staff says that it is inconsistent because staff supports development in this area. The district council supports it in the area. It's in the water sewer envelope to be able to move forward. Water and sewer is available, but yet the water sewer 2018 plan is just not keeping up with the actions of the council. So through no fault of the property owner, they are able to advance to 3 with the recommendation. I think what we would like this planning board to be able to do is to point out those areas so that the district council will, when they have the hearing, advance this property so where it should be appropriately in Category 4. Having said that, let me just turn to Mr. Dunn, who give you some more technical specifics about the property.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Thank you, Madam Chair, and board members. I appreciate the time. And Mr. Horn and Mr. Shipley, it's a very Machiavellian strategy, and I'm very impressed how you're going to have me in 2 places at the same time.
They're trying to have you in one place.
Having said that, Mr. Horn touched on a lot of very pertinent points, and I really want to point out, if you're looking at the screen now, you can see the property outlined in black there with the Category 5 as it's currently located in. It's adjacent to the east and to the south, relatively speaking, to Category 3 properties that are subdivisions known as Queensland and Maryvale. There are a total of 4 public rights-of-ways, 3 of which are 60 feet wide, that tie into the property. All of those rights-of-ways have public water and sewer in them, ready and available for connection to the site. So from a public infrastructure availability point of view, it's all there and ready to be taken advantage of, just like you would expect it to be when you're in the proper tier. So that's all I really have to add at this point, just from a technical perspective.
Okay, so let me just ask a question, because I'm going to be turning to Mr. Goldsmith at some point, and maybe to Ms. Thompson, because we hear all the arguments that you've made, and I think, and it appears that our hands may be tied to some extent, because there's certain criteria that we have to follow, and it has to be consistent with the plan. And I think, Mr. Horn, you said it best, that the changes, including your what was it, CB 81 2021, the plans have not kept up yet with the enacted law. Is that not what you said?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I said. And again, the district council has taken actions affirmatively since that time. And again, and the land use portion of the development all indicates that this property should be developed, should be in public water and sewer, required to be in public water and sewer pursuant to the sewer water sewer envelope plan. And yet the 2018 plan has just not kept up. And so this inconsistency should not be a penalty towards the property owner. It's up to the council to be able to ultimately make those changes.
Okay, so let me ask this question, because I suspect our hands may be tied on that, and it would be up to the district council, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yes,
I don't know. I don't know how much I don't know, and I guess I'll be turning to Peter and to our senior counsel, Mr. Goldsmith, and to our planners to see what our parameters are. I could see, utilizing your arguments, that perhaps this should at some point, but we can't say that at this juncture of time. And let me just say this while I have you. I'm going to say this on the record. I adore Dorothy Troutman. I absolutely do. She has been active even before I started here, and I've been active for 42 years. So she is just a gem, and she has been a supporter, and she has been an activist, and she has come before this planning board for decades. And I happen to know she did come to the first centenarian event with me, actually, which was a week before her 90th birthday. And we snuck her in, and we said 90, because we opened it up to 90 and above. And I was like, okay, you're 89 and 51 weeks. That's close enough. Come on. And so now she's about to turn 100. And, if she met all the legal criteria, you better believe we'd be the first people to help out in this instance, and I would be too. But I don't know that we can, and that is what I have to see. But I do think the council can get based on what you said. So I guess I'm going to turn to Mr. Goldsmith to see exactly what our parameters are here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Peter Goldsmith, Senior Counsel, for the record. I think what the board should be focusing on is whether the requested amendment is consistent with the general plan, with Plan 2035. And it sounds like what Mr. Horn is arguing is that there's errors in the 2018 water and sewer plan, and that the council has taken some action that has recognized those errors. But that's a question, as you mentioned, for the district council. What the board should be focusing on, what the argument should be focusing on, is whether this amendment is consistent with the general plan. And so I think it would be important to know what staff has to say about consistency with the general plan, and what Mr. Horn has to say about whether it's consistent with the general plan.
I would say that it is consistent. Our development proposal is consistent with the general plan and the master plan specifically, because when the legislation CB 81 2021 was adopted just in October of this past year, it was based on the adopted and approved master plan for this area. I'll turn to Mr. Dunn, who is an expert in this area. I believe my statements are correct.
Yeah, they are, Mr. Horn, and in fact, I think even the staff report suggests that that Plan 2035 recommends that you have to maintain and enhance existing public services, facilities, and infrastructure to ensure the needs of the residents are met, and that's exactly what this proposal intends to do: both maintain and enhance the public infrastructure that, in this case, consists of public water and sewer.
Okay.
I think it is in conformance with Plan 2035. Our request.
Okay, thank you. Let me hear from Ms. Thompson or whomever else is prepared to address
Madam Chair, this is Katina Schollers, Division Chief of Countywide Planning. The proposals we did review for consistency with Plan 2035 and found that it was consistent. However, the recommended changes are not consistent with the 2018 water sewer plan because of the proximity from connection.
Okay, so Mr. Horn, Mr. Dunn, and our staff are all in agreement that it is consistent with the general plan, Plan 2035, but it's not consistent with. So that's the plan. Is that the plan you were referring to, Mr. Horn? That plan hasn't caught up.
Well, it hasn't caught up. That's correct. But with reference to the distance between the availability of water and sewer to the property, I think Mr. Dunn testified, and he will follow up, that this property is it's adjacent to this, I think we say south and the east, but with water sewer category 3 accesses from 4 different positions. Again, I won't speak for you, Mr. Dunn, if elaborate.
Okay, let me make sure I heard that correctly. If you can confirm that or not, Mr. Dunn. Okay.
Thank you. I can confirm that the property is adjacent to 4 different public rights-of-ways that touch the property: Y Road, Aquinas Road.
Hold on a second. Okay, right there. It's okay. I'm going to have Mr. Flanagan's following you. Okay, so Y Road, and go ahead. What's next?
So Y Road is a 60-foot wide right-of-way with a public water line in it. The next road is Kayak. It's down in the lower right-hand corner there.
Okay. Kayak.
So that is a 60-foot wide right-of-way which touches the property and has both water and sewer in it. The next road is Sybaris, I think it's pronounced. That is a 60-foot, right there, correct. That is a 60-foot wide right-of-way with a 10-inch water and an 8-inch sewer line in it. And then the next one and last one is Aquinas Avenue, which is a 50-foot wide right-of-way with both an 8-inch water line and an 8-inch sewer line in it. And you'll note that
Okay, wait a minute. Let me stop. I just want to make sure I'm following you. So there's 4 roads that the property is adjacent to and touches. 4 roads: Y, Kayak, Sybaris, and Aquinas. Y is 3 of them are 60 feet, and Aquinas is 50 feet. Y has water but not sewer. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Kayak, sewer's in the crossroad, not too far away.
Okay, but Kayak, Sybaris, and Aquinas have all 3 of those have water and sewer.
Yeah, and I would like to point out that you can see the black line on the Troutman property, which tends to outline the property limits, but in this case, it's really only outlining the portion of the property that's in category 5. The 2 blue pieces of ground.
Okay, direct Mr. Flanagan. Oh, okay.
So they touch Aquinas Avenue. So go to the right there. Go up. No. Go up to the right
that
there.
Light blue right there. Okay.
That light blue and the light blue just above it are part of the Troutman farm, and they are already category 3. So they're outside of the request, which is why they're on the other side of the black line.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they do touch Aquinas.
Right, and what I guess I'm also implying is that a portion of the property is already category 3.
Yeah.
So it seems to me.
So how did that part happen? Do you know?
I do not know. I am sorry.
Okay. All right. Let me see if Mr. Horn, let me let you finish it unless you're finished with this one, because I want to see if the board has any questions of any of you or Mr. Dunn or our staff.
Yeah, that's it, Madam Chairman.
Okay, let's see if the board has any questions of you, Mr. Horn, you, Mr. Dunn, or Ms. Thompson or Ms. Shoulders.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Hi, this is Bobby Ray with the Special Projects section.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just wanted to jump in quickly. I'm looking at the staff report on page 10. And
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
All right.
What do I do with that? Okay. All right, I'm good.
Okay. On page 10, under WSSC, you'll see a discussion of the sewer connectivity. And basically what they're saying is there is an 8-inch sewer line in Sturdy Drive, which is abutting the property. And that can
Okay.
service about 73 acres of the
Right.
total site. So the existing sewer connection is 11,000 linear feet. So I'm not sure, I mean, based upon the information that we got from WSSC, there is a portion of it that is contiguous, but the majority of the property is not.
Okay. And I see this on page 10. Okay. Mr. Dunn, do you care to respond to that or no? Or do you want me to see if anybody else has a question?
I can respond to that. I appreciate that question. And certainly there is a portion of the property that is further away from the roads that I mentioned. And so that's why we're phasing the property. The first phase of the property would be those phases that are that portion of the property that's closest to the 4 roads that I mentioned. And as we dig deeper and deeper into the subdivision over time, as phases come online, the water and sewer will advance closer and closer to those remote portions of the property. So if you were to look at the property today, without any improvement to any of our property, the remotest portions would be pretty far away from existing water and sewer.
So
But
can
as
you
we-
direct Mr. Flanagan to the portions that you're not concerned about right now?
So it would be the upper left-hand corner of the keep, right? Yeah, that general area in there would be the remotest portion and would generally be the last portion that would be developed as water and sewer gets closer and closer to it.
But how big is that remaining portion? What size are you talking about?
A quarter of the property, plus or minus.
Okay.
Quarter of the acreage.
Okay. Because the way you were describing it, the way he had the cursor and you were guiding him, it seemed like just literally a corner, a little teeny.
Oh no, ma'am, that's not what I meant to imply.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's the remotest portion is what I was trying to get.
Okay. 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 Was that it for you at this point? I'm going to see if the board has any questions at this point. Madam Vice Chair.
No questions.
Okay. Commissioner Washington.
Yeah, I would like council to clarify, Mr. Goldsmith, when you said that our responsibility is to ensure conformance with the general plan 2035, we all recognize that this does, but then as Ms. Schultz pointed out, the issue was 2018. Is that still a part of our criterion set or no?
The 2018 water and sewer plan. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a good question.
I'm sorry.
Peter
I'm
Goldsmith.
sorry. I want to be clear, and I apologize. I want to clarify what I said about the distance, and that was just a criterion. What I should have said that we believe that the county executive based their recommendation on it. I did not mean to lead the board to think that they had to make a decision based on that. I apologize.
No, you didn't. We weren't guided by that. I don't think. I think we were trying to figure out what our parameters are, and when you said,
that's correct. That's correct.
So if the master plan issue is no longer on the table, conformance to the master plan, because you have already indicated, I mean the general plan, you have already indicated that they are in compliance with the general plan. So that part is on the table now. So the remaining thing that you said is, is this application in conformance with the water and sewer plan? Mr. Horn said that the water and sewer plan hasn't caught up with the other council actions and whatnot, specifically of CB 81 2021. So I guess and maybe
my question is whether that has to be a part of our consideration.
Right.
That's really my question.
And maybe you can answer that, and maybe Mr. Goldsmith can chime in as well.
I will defer to Mr. Goldsmith.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. This is Peter Goldsmith, Senior Counsel, for the record. If Mr. Flanagan can just turn to, I think, slide 2, and that's I think it lists the board's purview right there. So this is all the board has to consider is the planning board reviews. In this case, we're only talking about the amendment that's before the board, not the plan itself. That's not before the board, for consistency with the general plan. So my advice is that the board is only considering whether this is consistent with the general plan, and that's why they are referring it to the planning department and the planning board, because we are the experts for the general plan.
Okay,
And the board in the record. The board's recommendation.
Only test. Okay.
And so the board's recommendation might note. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. The board's recommendation can note that the amendment isn't consistent with plan or the 2018 water and sewer plan, but I think here the board's authority here is to just make a recommendation based on consistency with the general plan.
Okay, now I'm just going to tell you, I'm a little bit so this is, for me, this is taking me in a different direction from where I might have been earlier in this presentation, because we have just heard from, not just from the attorney here and the expert witness, Mr. Dunn here, but we've heard from our own staff that it is consistent with the general plan.
Right.
So if it's consistent,
It's like end of story for us, for our role.
Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So let me ask how all right, let's go ahead and I don't know. I don't think we vote on these things separately. So if we can hold our thoughts for the time being, or unless you want to make a recommendation for this now.
Well, no, I didn't know if Commissioner Dorner or Geraldo had any questions. If you were just continuing along. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Dorner.
No, I'm fine with the testimony that's been provided, the expert opinions, and now staff's concurrence with the general plan consistency to put this at sewer category 4. When we get to that point, I think there's been enough and sufficient testimony to explain why that's appropriate, and that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. And then Commissioner Geraldo.
I'm fine with the recommendation of staff and Mr. Goldsmith's legal argument.
It's two different things. Okay.
Consistent with the plan. That it's consistent with the plan.
Okay. You know what? We typically vote on these, but I'd like to let's make a motion on this one for the time being, and then we'll do one wrap-up motion for all of these. Okay.
Well, Madam Chair, I move that we not accept the recommendation of staff with regards to the Troutman property, and that we transmit a recommendation of moving the Troutman property to category 4, consistent with the testimony of not our expert, but Mr. Dunn, the applicant's expert, as well as staff and council's affirmation that the Troutman property is consistent with the general plan 2035.
We have a motion by Commissioner Washington, seconded by Commissioner Dorner, and I would like to just clarify that to not accept the staff's original recommendation, because it was sounding to me like their recommendation changed based on what our senior legal counsel said, that is our only test, and Ms. Scholars indicated that it meets that test. So I'd like to say that, and I wanted to say what I said earlier. We are very fond of this applicant, but we make our decisions not based on that. Our decisions are based on complying with the law, and sometimes we have to make the tough decisions. So I just want that really, really clear. And it just so happens in this particular case that our staff indicated that conformance with the general plan. So that issue has been solved. I'm calling for the vote, Madam Vice Chair.
But with consistent with the general plan, I vote aye.
Commissioner Washington,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
But it might also be helpful to just clarify on page 10 with the 2018 water and sewer plan. It's not a complete sentence how it starts out. So just clarifying just the language in there and maybe mentioning that there's a council bill that's underway as well, which may rectify some of those challenges.
yes. Okay, and then thank you. Commissioner Giraldo?
Well, I'm kind of confused because I was looking at the staff report and I'm going along with them supporting it going to category 4.
No, you know what? No, that's not what they're
I'm
saying.
confused.
I understand why you're confused because it's, when you look at that slide, when they say support, that should technically be underneath the county executives. They were supporting the county executive, and it's not clear on that. I had issues with that too. It's the way we produce those reports on that is not clear. So
Okay, so in the future, can we? In the future,
well, I've already
can
taken
reports?
care of that. I've already done that. Okay, I already addressed that.
Okay, I go along with the fellow commissioners and support the change of category.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you
All right,
very
next.
much.
Okay, so Mr. Horn, are you still keeping Mr. Dunn, Mr. Horn, for your next matter?
No, I mean, if we can't tie him down to the chair here, I guess we gotta let him go.
Okay, thank you. So while we have, so let me go back to Mr. Horn for the next one.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm here with co-counsel Tracy Scudder, who's here, and our team that you heard for National View. See where that is on Mr. Flanagan. I'm not sure. Is that the Tucker? There we go. Okay. And I'm going to just say, Madam Chair, that so on behalf of Ms. Scudder and myself, I entered a letter on behalf of the applicant here, making almost exactly the same argument for National View as we just heard in the Troutman case. And National View was just rezoned to MXT, in October of 2021. And, there's a lot of similarities by the property being located in sustainable growth area tier 2, then the growth boundary within the water sewer envelope, with category 3 property already on the site, if they would look at the property as a whole. So there's a lot of reasons for that. Rachel Lexinger from Dewberry is here to add to it, but let me defer to Ms. Scudder on this one, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Scudder.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you, Art. I would agree with everything that Art just said. There are a number of items in the staff report that we don't feel are completely accurate, but I would defer to Rachel. She's prepared today to go through the issues with this particular application. So if it's okay with you, Madam Chair, I'll turn to Rachel Leitzinger.
Okay, Ms. Leitzinger.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. So as you may recall from the recent rezoning that was done on this property to move it to MXT, the property extends about another 1,600 feet to the north of what is shown outlined in black in this image. Similar to what we just heard on the Tucker property, the northern portion of this property was already in category 3. So the application that was submitted was only submitted for the portion of the property that's in category 6, which is the portion highlighted there in black on your screen. So the staff report kind of is inconsistent as to when it looks at the property as a whole and when it looks at only the portion that was covered under the application. There is existing water and sewer located in Seneca Drive, which is to the north off the screen. There is also, you can see on this, a 10-inch water line located on the property itself. And then there's also water and sewer 8-inch lines located in Cree Drive to the northwest. So there is abundant water and sewer surrounding the property. Yes, an extension would be required to get from Seneca Drive to this portion of the property, but it goes entirely through the northern portion of this project.
Are you following her? Okay. Okay, Ms. Leisinger, are you? I was trying to guide Mr. Flanagan here, but okay. Were you finished or not finished?
I mean, I guess.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So Ms. Scudder, anything else from you?
No, I think that, Ms. Leisinger covered the issues well there. I would just, point out that, that there are, there is a water sewer connection that is within, 1,500 feet of a water main in a couple of locations that are not noted in the staff report. And I think that that is a critical issue in this case, because my understanding is that this application can technically start out at 5 through an amendment that the administrator is, I believe, processing along with this application request. But that 1,500-foot requirement is the issue that would prevent this application from going to Category 4. And we believe that there is room for additional interpretation in terms of where, the proximity that we are from other connections to a water main. And so that's our biggest issue is that we just didn't feel like this staff report covered that, that there are some other connections nearby that would be within the 1,500 square feet.
Okay, let's see what Ms. Thompson has to say.
Madam Chair.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Horn.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also, again, as we know that it's important to point out that the General Plan 2035 locates the property in the established policy area within sustainable growth area Tier 2. The staff referred to the green infrastructure area, but again, it was as indicated by Ms. Leisinger, water sewer Category 3 is already on the property. So it is in the referral from staff. The health department has no issues with developing on the site. Neither did DPI, who indicated that there were several other applications to proceed, as we know. There was no issues with transportation. Fire, police is defined in the master plan or the master plan of transportation. All these things makes it clear that in this particular case, this property should be moved to Category 4. And as you mentioned before, with the Troutman property, there was a legislative CB 81. In this particular property, the council rezoned it MXT. This was one of two properties, the last two properties in all of Prince George's County that was rezoned MXT, even during the time of the CMA, where MXT zones will not continue. So there was a conscious effort by the council to have this property developed. The general plan would have it show as being developed consistent with what was out there next to it, which was the residential development, but the council added the content of commercial to go along with it, the MXT. So again, it's clear that it is consistent with the general plan in the sense that development should occur, and the district council specify what kind of development is to occur when it rezoned the property to MXT here in October of this past year.
Okay. Thank you for that. But I do need for Ms. Thompson to respond, and then we'll see if the board has any questions of anyone. Ms. Thompson?
Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. I do want to reiterate that this project is within the established community, so it is consistent and in conformance with the general plan, and that the master plan for the area does not make any specific land use recommendations for these properties. And also, I do want to make a note that when applications are submitted, we review what is submitted to us. So the project that is outlined, the properties that are outlined on the map in black is what we are reviewing, and that's what we reviewed. So we can't make any assumptions as to a project area if it's not included as part of the overall application. I just want to put that out there. But to be consistent with, I am in agreement with what Mr. Horn said in terms of the application being, the area being consistent with the general, in conformance with the general plan. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, Mr. Goldsmith, do you want to jump in here before I turn for questions, or do you need a minute, Mr. Goldsmith?
Peter Goldsmith, Senior Counsel. It sounds like everybody is saying that this amendment is consistent with the general plan, and so that is the finding that the board needs to make, is whether this amendment is consistent with Plan 2035.
Okay. Questions, Madam Vice Chair?
No question.
Okay, Commissioner Washington?
No questions. I'm ready to make a motion if my colleagues are okay with that.
Okay, I'll just see real quick, Commissioner Dorner?
Let's see those quick motion making.
Okay, Commissioner Giraldo?
Super quick motion making.
Okay, Commissioner Washington?
Madam Chair, with that, I'd like to move that we not adopt the original recommendation of staff and recommend to or transmit and recommend to the County Council that National View be changed to a recommendation of Category 4, based on the testimony as well as staff confirming that the plan is in fact consistent with the General Plan 2035.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We have a motion and we had a second, right? The motion by Commissioner Washington, seconded by, was that you, Commissioner Dorner?
I think I beat Quick Draw Giraldo there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Madam Vice Chair?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner?
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo?
Vote aye, Madam Chair.
The ayes have it 5-0. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Haller?
Good morning, Madam Chair, and welcome back. I mean, you never really left, but good to see you nonetheless.
Thank you, Mr. Haller.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Thomas Haller with offices in Lanham, and I am here today representing Phil and Rolanda Tucker and Timberlake Homes. Mr. Tucker is also on the line and signed up. The Tuckers live in Marlton, and they purchased a parcel of land on Wallace Lane for the construction of their dream home. And they contracted with Timberlake Homes to build it. And that is the property that is before you today. And this is an unusual request. It's not one that the council or the planning board sees very often. So I want to give you a little bit of background as to how we got here. Even though the property is within the established communities, it does not have water and sewer lines that abut the property. And when the Tuckers bought the property owner gave them an approved perk test from the health department, indicating that they could construct a septic system for the property. And so their plan was to provide a well and septic because they do not abut a public water and sewer line. However, the property is within water and sewer category 5, which means that ultimately it is intended to connect to public water and sewer. You can see on the map there's about 4 properties that are in the green. Those 4 properties are all served by well and septic, and but 3 of the 4 are improved with homes and are connected to well and septic, but there are no water and sewer lines that abut the property. And so the Tuckers filed for a waiver. So they did not have to request a change in water and sewer category. They submitted a waiver, and the 10-year water and sewer plan contains criteria for granting a waiver to allow somebody to provide water or sewer service through a well and septic as opposed to connecting to public water and sewer. And they were indicated by staff at DPI that they did not meet the criteria for a waiver. What they did not know was that the property owner that they bought the property from had already applied for an administrative waiver and been denied. So when they bought the property and applied for their waiver, DPI said, well, we've already denied this once, we're not going to give you a waiver now. So the Tuckers find, the Tuckers find themselves in a position where if they do not get approval of a waiver, that they will have bought a piece of property that they cannot use. And so in working with staff at DPI, what we were told was that when you do not meet the criteria for an administrative waiver, the only option is to request that waiver through a legislative amendment request, which is what is before the board and the council today. And so we submitted that request. Now, if you look at the staff report, you will see that the county executive has recommended denial because the property is located within a reasonable distance of public water and sewer lines in McCullough Court. So this is an instance where we're too close to public water and sewer, as opposed to other cases that you've heard before you, where the properties were supposedly too far away. The problem is, if you look at the map that's in front of you, you will see McCullough Court to the north of this property. Mr. Plant, there you go, there's McCullough Court. And in order to get to that water and sewer line, the Tuckers would need an easement from one of 3 property owners whose homes lie between them and McCullough Court. And so I advised the Tuckers to go to each one of those property owners and seek permission to get an easement from them so that they could connect to the water and sewer lines in McCullough Court. And what I submitted in the letter that I transmitted to the planning board earlier this week is emails from each one of those property owners denying their request for an easement to extend public water and sewer lines to their property. And I think Mr. Tucker can speak as well, but there's no ill will with the neighbors. That we fully understand that is the side yard of their house, and for them to grant an easement would mean that their side yards would be dug up, and that area would not be able to be used because it would have water and sewer lines in it. So they respectfully declined our request for an easement, but that leaves the Tuckers in a position where they are now cannot access public water and sewer lines. So the waiver requirement says you have to be more than 200 feet from an existing line in order to qualify for the waiver, and they're within 200 feet, but they can't get to it. And so that puts them in an incredibly difficult position. When we transmitted our letter to the board, and the discussion order today has been very helpful, I think, was to point out that if you look at the staff report, we conform to the general plan. This is within the established communities area as designated by the general plan. Infill residential development is supported. This is an opportunity for an existing resident of the county to stay in the county and to build their dream home. We totally and completely conform to the recommendations of the general plan. This is really just a matter of an inability to access an existing line because of the inability to obtain easements through private properties. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Tucker to say a few words, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Mr. Tucker?
Good morning, good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. As Attorney Tom has communicated, my wife and I, we've been living in Upper Marlboro now for 22 years, and we would love to stay there. We're very active in the community. I've coached sports at Upper Marlboro Boys and Girls Club for 12 years. This is our home. We really want this. And the other thing that with the WSSC easement that Attorney Pilot was speaking about is the cost. It was like $50,000 if we could have got one of our neighbors to agree to it. And that's pretty excessive for us. We're not wealthy people. But we did. The neighbors there are very nice people. I just want to say that we really need this. We're at our wits' end. We've been working on this for over a year with hopes of building our dream home. Attorney Howard covered things pretty well. I don't have anything else. I just hope to be awarded a well accepted for our home. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. I'm going to see, well, Mr. Haller, are you done before I ask the board if they have any questions of either you or Mr. Tucker?
And just one final thing, when we submitted our request, staff told us they were going to recommend denial because we didn't meet the criteria for an administrative amendment. And they said it would be up to the planning board and the council to determine whether to grant our request. My concern with the planning board's recommendation, which is to deny the waiver, I think it's important for the council to understand that we do conform to the general plan. The decision as to whether or not to allow us to provide well and septic service to this property should not be denied because the council thinks we don't meet planning principles. And that's what I'm requesting the planning board to communicate to the council, is that this is conformance with the general plan, and it'll be up to the council to determine whether to grant the waiver or not.
Okay, so let me ask this question because I'm going to see if the board has any questions of you or Mr. Tucker, but I also want to hear, and let me make sure I think I heard you correctly. So this application may or may not be in conformance with the general plan, but you may or may not meet the criteria for the waiver because you have to be more than 200 feet back, and you're too close, you're saying, for the waiver. So I guess what I hear you requesting is that even if we don't go recommend moving to the category 4, that you are saying at least make it clear.
The request for the council and the board is not for
it's not for
the waiver.
It's for the waiver.
Right. The planning board is based on the planning principles to support the waiver.
Okay, okay, I'm sorry. So support the waiver based on, so you're asking that even if we can't support the waiver because you don't meet the technical criteria, that we note that you do meet the intentions and of the general plan.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. So you because you freely admit you don't meet the criteria for the waiver, but at least make it clear that that you are in conformance, you conform to the general plan. Let me turn to Mr. Goldsmith first, and then I'll turn to everyone else. Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you. Peter Goldsmith, Senior Counsel for the record. So I think what Mr. Haller has said is that they don't meet the criteria for the waiver. And I also, the county executive based it on the location of the property to the connection line. But I think on page 5 of the statement of justification, they also admit that the lot is not located in an area that is planned for public service under an authorized and active project. And I think that's also a criterion for approval that must be met for the waiver.
Was that it for you? Okay, sorry.
No, sorry, I hit my mouse. But the general plan said, so this property is within the sewer envelope. And the general plan says the provision of public water and sewer service is limited to the county's designated sewer envelope. The purpose of the sewer envelope and I'm reading from the general plan. The purpose of the sewer envelope is to promote the efficient use of public infrastructure investment, concentrate growth in communities where services are sufficient to accommodate development, and preserve the county's rural and environmentally sensitive land. And so I just wanted to explain what the purpose of the sewer envelope was, straight out of the general plan.
Okay. So let's see if the board has any questions. Madam Vice Chair?
No questions.
Commissioner Washington?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just had like, I don't know what with my technology, but I went out and immediately came back. I'm not sure if I missed anything, Mr. Goldsmith, in terms of your last comments, but our criteria is still the same. I mean, that is conformance with the general plan, correct?
That's what the water and sewer plan says, is that. You can hear me? You hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. But the 2018.
Yes, I can hear you.
The 2018 water and sewer plan says that these are referred for consistency with the general plan. But because this is a waiver.
No, the reason I'm asking is because do we even have to take a position on the waiver? I mean, if we're finding conformance with the 2020, if we're finding conformance with the general plan, we cannot, in a question, we may not take a position on the waiver, yet as part of our transmittal, communicate to council why they should strongly consider it, or whatever other appropriate language based on the testimony today.
And maybe what we can do in furtherance of what Commissioner Washington is saying, maybe what we say is we don't have the authority to approve the waiver, but we do because of the distance. But they just meet, but they do meet the criteria of the general plan. I think although Mr. Goldsmith did highlight some other things with the general plan, but if that's our position, then I think that's what Mr. Howland was asking, that we make sure that even if we note the issue with the waiver criteria, that we note that it is consistent with the general plan. I think I'm going to ask you that again, Mr. Howland. That's what you were asking, correct?
That's correct. Our concern is that if the planning board recommends denial of the waiver, it implies that we don't conform to the general plan. Right. We believe that it is up to the council to grant the waiver, but we do believe that it's important that they understand that the planning board does conform to the general plan in terms of the location of the development.
Okay, I think that's fair. Okay, so did you get your question answered, Commissioner Washington?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Dorner.
Mr. Haller, I wanted to find out, did staff know when they were reviewing this application or this particular property, the outcome from when you had reached out to the other property owners and they had declined the easement?
Not completely. When we filed the application, we had received a response from one of the 3 property owners, and subsequent to filing the application, we finally got a response from the other 2, both of whom declined our request for an easement. And in the letter that I submitted to the planning board this week, I transmitted the other 2 emails from the neighbors, and I'm planning to transmit those to the council when I submit a letter to them as well. So the answer is they did not know that all 3 had denied to provide us an easement. They did not know that.
Because the staff report had to be published way in advance.
That's correct.
I asked that because I'm in support of moving this to category 4, but I think it would be helpful to, or not to category 4.
Waiver.
The waiver.
The waiver.
Yeah, I'm actually going to treat that separately in terms of, like, I think this is consistent with the general plan that we've been hearing, and in terms of the waiver, I think it would be helpful for staff to point out that the other public access points of the properties around there have denied the easement for that, because part of the waiver requires access to public infrastructure when possible. That's been denied here. And then just consistency with surrounding properties on both sides. Both of those are on private septic tanks, which I think is also helpful to know, because just from a sort of an economic planning purpose, like part of extending out the public infrastructure is to make sure the homeowners bear the cost of that when possible, so that way it's not putting burden on other existing property owners. But in this case, it's not even being permitted, or not even being allowed, I guess would be the better word, from existing property owners. And we didn't have that in the staff report before. So making that additional kind of clarification that I think would be helpful for the county council to consider in that in their consideration of the waiver.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dorner. And Commissioner Giraldo.
No questions, Madam Chair. I'm kind of leaning towards Commissioner Dorner in this respect.
Okay, so let's see if there is a motion. The lady in green. Oh, she's muted. Can we unmute her?
I'm trying.
Okay, well, you're unmuted. We hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
we
let me,
can.
all right. So with that, Madam Chair, I would like to, I move that we not accept the original recommendation of staff with regards to the Tucker property, and in fact, communicate that we are in support of that this proposal is aligned with the general plan 2035. Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
I'm
so
sorry.
far, so
Okay, my screen is dancing. I'm sorry. So
you're breaking up a little, but keep going.
Okay, so that this is in line with the general plan 2035, and also in our comments as part of the transmittal to county council that we should communicate messaging, and I think my colleague, Commissioner Dorner, articulated very well why the council should strongly consider approving the waiver for this property. Did you hear me? Can you?
Yes, we heard you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I guess you know, what you're saying is you're sort of agreeing with the staff recommendation, but only because of the waiver. But we're strongly encouraging the council to consider granting the waiver and in support of this, that it's consistent with the general plan. Okay, and then
yeah, but the staff position, as I understand it, is that they stay in water, stay in category 5.
Okay,
right.
got it.
So I'm not supporting
this.
Right.
Got it.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So Commissioner Dorner, did you second it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, Madam Vice Chair.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. The ayes have it 5-0. What I would like to do now is go to the rest of the whole packet, and then we have modifications. So someone needs to make a motion with regard to the entirety of the staff recommendations, and with the exceptions as noted in the previous motions. Or the remaining two, that's another way of looking at it.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendations of staff with regards to the Stewart property and Manning Road East parcel 24, and transmit the recommendations to the county council for consideration. And with regards to the Troutman, Tucker, and National View properties, that the prior motions stand as taken. Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly stated. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Washington. Motion by Commissioner Washington, seconded by Commissioner Dorner. Madam Vice Chair.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo. Commissioner Geraldo.
Vote aye.
Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you very
Vote aye.
much. Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you very much. Good luck, Mr. Tucker, and to you and your wife. We appreciate it. Mr. Howard, good to see you again.
Thank you.
And I want to say happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. And I am now going to turn to Mr. Hunt because, Mr. Hunt, I have a key question for the day. Mr. Hunt, is there any additional business to come before this Prince George's County Planning Board today?
Madam Chair, there's no additional business items before the planning board today.
Planning Board is adjourned. Everyone have a splendid weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, sorry I couldn't get on the camera, but.
Madam
Good job. Good job.